Oh man, hammer game. We always hit the nail on the head. So check this out, my Miami Hurricane fans, my Florida State Seminole fans, and my Florida Gator fans. Yesterday was a tough day for the Big Three, not just Miami. I know you guys saw Miami lost to Georgia Tech, but it wasn't just a tough day for Miami. Now, obviously, you guys saw the Florida Gators got their ass blown out. I mean, decimated. Texas beat them 49-17, 49-17. And then Florida State last night, man, last time I saw the score, it was like 40 something to 3. I just turned that one off, as expected. So Miami loses a close game on the road to Georgia Tech, while both, Florida State and the Gators got blown out. Got blown out. That's tough. That's tough. Um, Nonetheless, it's still 3 L's all across the board. It's still 3 L's. Now, obviously, the most surprising one of them all is Georgia Tech beating Miami. But when you've been watching this team all year, we've been escaping. Fourth quarter comebacks. We've been coming down to the end a lot in these games, and the defense ain't what it's supposed to be and stuff like that. You kind of expected this. But guys, before we get any further, do me a huge favor: hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you're watching on, Twitter and all the other platforms, then share, follow, and all that good stuff. And also, if you want to support the channel financially, the Cash App is at the bottom. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also super chat. When you super chat, your comment will be highlighted, and we'll discuss whatever it is you want to discuss. So, if you want to change the topic or anything like that, the best way to do is hit the super chat. But anyways, man, let's get straight into it. A lot happened yesterday. College football, of course, you guys know we do the show every Sunday. Win, lose, or draw, regardless. Also, I do post game videos. So if you guys ever wondering how I'm feeling about the game afterwards and this and that, just subscribe to the channel and turn your post notifications on. So. Obviously, you guys, if you watched the video yesterday, you guys already know how I feel about this loss. It was inevitable. Now, obviously, us Miami fans, we wanted 12-0. We wanted 12-0. Unfortunately, we got the 9, and then we just hit this bump in the road. But hey, still got 2 more games left. The ACC championship is still in play, but we're probably gonna need some things to happen. So it is what it is. Let me go ahead and pull this thing up real quick. Pull up ESPN. Obviously, you guys know the college football playoffs rankings. That's going to change. Miami's no longer going to be the number 4 team in the country. Some teams are going to shift. Georgia lost yesterday to Ole Miss, so obviously it's going to be some shakeup. Alabama blows out LSU. They'll try anything to put them SEC teams in there. So it's a lot of scenarios right now where a lot of SEC teams could end the season at 10-2. So it's a lot to be discussed in college football. Oregon still doing Oregon things. They're 10-0, still undefeated and stuff like that. So it's a lot to get into. Tuesday is going to be, a hell of a day for the playoff committee. So let me go ahead and shift this over real quick so you guys can see what I'm about to present to y'all. Right now they're actually projecting. There's a projection right now, so I do want to share this. And this is coming from ESPN. I'm sorry, I was about to say ES Sports, like we in the game. That's tough. So as you guys can see right here, let me go back to the top of the article. Shout out to Heather, senior writer over there at ESPN. So basically, you guys can see it right there. If you're an ESPN Plus member or whatever, you get to see this kind of stuff. I am, so I will bring it to you guys. So projecting the college football playoffs top 25 after week 11. So after all the games got played yesterday, basically they're projecting the top 25. So we kind of get an idea what they're thinking, where Miami's gonna land, and Georgia and all them other teams that played yesterday. So we could skip through all the writings and this, that, and the third. So obviously number one would be Oregon. No doubt there. They handled business yesterday, of course. You know, don't need to read nothing about them. Number two will be Ohio State. Of course, they handled business massive yesterday, 45-0 win over a terrible Purdue team. But when you play terrible teams, you're supposed to blow them out, and they got the job done. They did what they were supposed to. Then Texas will be the number three team in the country. Obviously, beat the brakes off Florida. Knocked all the game teeth loose. Crazy season for Florida, man. They had all the hopes and everything like that, and then Lagway went down. Mertz down. So many of their players down. Let me stop making excuses for Florida. They just suck. Plain and simple. Is what it is. Penn State will be number four in the country now. Obviously, when Miami's lost, they're projecting that. These are all projections, by the way. That Penn State will be number four. They'll move on up. Tennessee will occupy the number 5 spot according to ESPN. Projecting the top 25 ahead of time. Indiana, of course, for the first time in school history. Indiana is now 10-0. So you got two teams in the top 10 so far that's undefeated still. You got Oregon and Indiana. Unfortunately, Miami took a loss yesterday. And of course, at number 7, they got BYU. They're still undefeated. They did not play yesterday, so yeah, the Cougars are 9-0. It's going to be interesting to see, what the games are this week. Notre Dame will occupy the number 8 spot. They beat the brakes off Florida State yesterday. Man, that's tough. Florida State is like a bad taste in college football mouth right now. We listened to them cry all last year, and then this year just watch them get smashed all over the world. Florida State is so close to the tip of Florida that we should probably push them into a different state to save ourselves the embarrassment. Florida State is absolutely trash. Mike Norvell bamboozled them boys. They said BYU beat Utah yesterday. Yeah, my bad. I forgot they did play. Mike Norvell, man. Bamboozle. Straight bamboozle. Robbery of the century. The first 2 seasons, Mike Norvell show you guys who they really were. And then he went into the portal, got a couple guys, 10-win season, then 13-win season. Straight bamboozle. Now he shows you who he really is. He can't recruit out of high school. And if he gets into the postseason, the next season, you're going to be absolutely trash because all the great transfer portal guys are gone, and he don't have nothing out of high school that he develops. His quarterbacks looks terrible. Right now, they're on a running back that I don't even know. Who the hell is Singleton. I never heard of this guy in the beginning of the season. They were telling me about Toafili, Holmes, all these other people, Davis. Who is these people? Who is these people playing for Florida State? My goodness, it's like they went out and hired a bunch of mercenaries. Man, watching that team last night was so terrible. Notre Dame. I loved every bit of it. Man, that's tough, Florida State. God dang it. Listen, man, if Miami losing yesterday is no excuse, but watching you guys get pummeled, both of you other teams, knowing that both of you can't talk no trash to me, it was absolutely joyful. Knowing that a Florida State fan can't say nothing to me after Miami lost to Georgia Tech is absolutely phenomenal. Knowing a Gator fan can't say nothing to me is absolutely phenomenal. Yesterday, when I saw the Gators got blown out by Texas, I was like, you know what, Miami, go ahead and get this dub, dog. Go ahead and get this dub. And then all of a sudden we lost the freaking Georgia Tech, and I'm like, damn, I can't even talk shit to the Gators. And then I'm like, you know what? Florida State gonna lose tonight. We know that's the obvious. That's all they've been doing all season. Put money on Florida State to lose, and you guaranteed to win something. Shit. So I knew both of them wouldn't be able to say nothing to me. But man, it's Florida State. Man, this goddamn Georgia Tech loss stings, dog. That shit stings. Pun intended too. God. Anyway, let's get back to this ranking, man. So at number 9, they're projecting that Alabama's going to be the number 9 team in the country. So obviously, you see where this is going. We're at number 9 right now, and Miami's nowhere to be found after that loss against Georgia Tech. So obviously, we about to drop. We about to drop. Like Drake said before Kendrick hit him with that euphoria. We about to drop. Anyway, so let's keep it moving. Down at number 10, they're gonna drop Georgia down to number 10 after that beating they took yesterday. Obviously, drop. They dropped from the number 2 team in the country down to number 10. So they got Georgia now at 7-2, 2 losses, 2 SEC losses. Obviously they lost. What was their first one? They lost to Alabama, and now they lost to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin got that signature win against Georgia. Florida Gator fans, I'm back to you guys now. Florida Gator fans, y'all back on the We Want Lane train? Y'all back on the We Want Lane Kiffin? I know y'all would say y'all ain't want him when he lost to Kentucky, and Billy beat Kentucky, and when he had lost the other game. Y'all say y'all didn't want him when he lost to LSU. Are you guys back on the Lane train? Do you guys want Lane Kiffin as the head coach now? Guess what? It don't matter. Billy's staying anyway. So, y'all can get off the Lane train. That's tough. But Florida Gator fans, hypothetically, if Strickland didn't give Billy this, cushion saying, hey, he's going to be the coach again next year, would y'all jump right back on the Lane train? Obviously, so Georgia dropped down to number 10 in this projection, by the way. It's just a projection by ESPN. So if Florida drops down to number 10 and they was number 2, Miami also lost yesterday. I want to see how far they drop us. I haven't looked at this list yet. So we're looking at this actual together. You're seeing it at the same time I'm seeing it. So let's just keep it moving. Okay. All right. So right behind Georgia, you got Miami. Miami is 9-1 right now, guys. And they're projecting us to be the number 11 team in the country. So we would still be the highest ranked ACC team. We still got a chance to play for the ACC championship and so secure a number 1 spot, one of those 4 number ones in college football, the bye weeks or whatever, the guaranteed, the conference champions and whatever. So we'll still have a chance to do that as long as some things plays out in the ACC. We're gonna look at all that scenario today. Today, this gonna be that show. Guys. As you come on in, do me a huge favor, hit the like button, make it a habit, hit the like button. Also, share the channel, man. Share the live shows across other social media platforms. You got a Facebook. Pretty sure you got plenty of Florida State fans on Facebook and, other places. Pretty sure you got plenty of Gator fans on those other places. Tell them to come represent their team, man. Tired of knocking them down with no challenge. Tell them to come on over here and represent their team. Anyways, Miami's at 11, and at the number 12 spot, they got Boise State. Boise State is 8-1. Obviously, they got that running back that they're giving Heisman hopes and everything like that. So Boise State at 12, and pretty much that's where they stopped at. They're just projecting, college football playoffs. So we're talking about playoffs here. So no Florida State fan should have watched this with any kind of hopes or glam or any kind of dreams in their eyes. We're talking about playoffs. Even when you're 13-0, you couldn't get in. So, that's where we at right now. So teams projected the rest of the top 25. They're projecting Ole Miss to be at number 13, SMU 14, Texas A&M at 15, Kansas State at 16. Colorado will improve to 17. Appreciate you, Sarge. I don't know if you're watching or not, but appreciate you for the $50 bet that we made. Y'all better stop betting against Dion, man. Y'all better stop betting against Dion. Thank you for the 50. And thank you also to Lenore's. I don't know what is wrong with Lenore's, but Lenore's betted me $50 that Florida was going to beat Texas. Easiest bet. I even gave him time to get out of it, and he stuck to it. I said, "Man, you sure you want to do this? You don't have to do this, dog." No, he think Florida was going to beat Texas 17-16. Man, easiest bet I could ever make. Lenore's, you got to stop it, man. You got to stop doing these things. Um, Obviously, Sarge, you got to start believing in Dion, man. You got to believe. Do you believe now? You got to start believing in Dion. So good little pocket change yesterday. You guys want to bet me in the chat and stuff on some of these games. Yeah, some of them is just too good to refuse. Easy money, easy money. Um, Washington State with them and Oregon State, they're the only two left in the Pac-12. So call it Pac-2. They're at number 18 in this projection. LSU will drop down to number 19. Obviously, Alabama beat the brakes off them yesterday. Um, South Carolina beats Vanderbilt yesterday. They'll improve. What else? What else? Louisville improves to 21. Clemson's at 22. Missouri's at 23. Pitt's at 24. And Army's at 25. So, yep, that's ESPN's projections. Projections. Those are all projections that they're basically doing for the college football top 25. So first round buys. These are who they think would be the champions. These are who they think would be the champions, the conference champions. So here we go. They think that Oregon's going to win the Big Ten championship. They think that Oregon's going to win the Big Ten championship and they're going to get a first round bye. They think that Texas is going to win the SEC. You hear that, Georgia fans? You hear that, Georgia fans? Georgia fans. All you Georgia fans in here. They think that Texas A&M, no, I'm sorry, Texas Aggies back up. I made a mistake. Y'all don't belong nowhere near no SEC championship game. But Texas, that's who they projecting to be the SEC champions. BYU, they're projecting them to come out of the Big 12. BYU. And ACC champion, they're still projecting Miami to be the ACC champion and to get that first round buys. So obviously, we still got playoffs hopes. Our margin for error is at 0 right now. We can't lose no more games. We got 2 more games, guys. We got Wake Forest and Syracuse. We got to win both of those. Win and get to the ACC championship game and win that. And we all good over here. We all good over here. Now, obviously, as Miami fans that watch the game, we all know this scenario will play out the way it play out. But we're really not all good over here. We're really not all good over here. That defense, man, you guys watch it just as much as I am. So you guys know I'm not bashing the team or anything. I'm just stating the obvious that we all see and we all can talk amongst each other. We don't even care if we got a Florida State audience or a Gator audience. We all saw that defense for what it was for the last couple of games now. We eventually knew that one of these teams was going, get that lead and actually keep the lead. And pretty much that's what happened to us. Obviously we had a chance to win. Cam Moore got hit, fumbled the ball, and that was all she wrote. That was all she wrote. So crazy thing is Georgia Tech actually took a knee to beat us. That's tough. That's tough. All right, that's the only jab I'm going to throw. But anyways, let's keep it moving. First round games, they're projecting that Boise State will play Ohio State. So they're saying Ohio State will be number 5, Boise State will be the 12th. They'll play each other. Georgia and Penn State, this is what they're projecting. Georgia versus Penn State. Then they're projecting Alabama at Tennessee. Alabama at Tennessee. We've already seen that game happen, but I guess, with the playoffs, we'll get some of these games that are going to be rematches because they're, putting so many SEC teams in the actual playoffs. So then you have Notre Dame at Indiana. Notre Dame at Indiana. So Those are what they're projecting the playoffs to be, first rounds and stuff like that. Now, obviously, second round, second round. Let's just say Boise versus Ohio State. Boise wins. It'll be Ohio State versus Miami. Ohio State versus Miami. Let's just say Georgia and Penn State. Whoever wins that game will play BYU. So Georgia versus BYU or Penn State versus BYU. Um, you know what? Before we go into further, I want to ask you guys some of this. Let's just say this play out just the way they have it now. Miami wins the ACC, BYU, Texas, and Oregon. They all won the conference. They all get their buys. They all put in place. Obviously, these guys are all in place or whatever. So, would you guys rather see Miami versus Boise State or Miami versus Ohio State in the first round? In the quarterfinal game. Would you rather see Miami versus Ohio State or Miami versus Boise State in the quarterfinal? Now let me know in the chat. We'll move on after I see maybe three different ones. Three different ones. When I get three different answers, I'll move on. Tiebreaker two or more is all we need. So obviously it's early morning. You guys get in the chat. Let me know what you think. Miami versus Ohio State, or would you rather see Miami versus Boise State in the quarterfinal? So I see Ohio State. BB, what's going on with you, man? Sad day for you Gators, man. Sad day for you Gator boys. All right, so two Ohio State. There it is. Miami versus Ohio State. Georgia versus BYU or Penn State versus BYU. Which game would you guys rather see? Georgia versus BYU or Penn State versus BYU? So obviously, if you want to see Penn State versus BYU, that means Penn State knocked off Georgia the round. Penn State would knock off Georgia the round before this. So they say Miami would lose to Boise State or Ohio State. Oh man. Oh man. Listen, man, y'all gotta let yesterday go. We got a whole bye week. Some of these players gonna get healthy. We're gonna go back out there and play football. We're gonna watch Geedra put us in cover one, and watch our defense get cooked, and hopefully our offense will bail us out like they didn't bail us out yesterday. And everything will be all right, man. Just watch the building burn. Don't touch the water. Don't touch the fire hydrant. Just watch the building burn. So, hey, man, listen. Remember at the beginning of the season, I told you guys, if Miami win 9 games, that means we're going in the right direction. We won 5, we won 7, we won 9 now. We're already at 9-1. From my projection right now, we'll be 11-1. I don't think we'll lose to Syracuse, and I don't think we'll lose to Wake Forest. Can it happen? Yes, obviously it can. But we got a lot of injuries right now, especially in the DBs. One of our worst rooms got even worse. We got too much injuries going on. So hopefully after this bye week, some of those guys that's banged up will get back. Man, goddamn, I miss Damari Brown so bad right now. Sheesh. Man, I miss Damari Brown. Watching Darrell Porter go down. Man, the week before we lost what's his name? Richards. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's just tough right now. So people are saying Penn State. Georgia will probably win, but Penn State is okay too. I see 3 Penn State. So they rather Penn State play BYU than they'll rather see Georgia. Nobody wants Georgia in the playoffs. So obviously, if Georgia don't play BYU, that means Penn State knocked them off the week before. CJ, what's going on, boss? I'm trying to find out who cooking today. Well, I ain't cooking nothing, not even breakfast. So that's tough. I don't know who cooking. What y'all cooking? Lenoris, what's good with you? Lenoris, man, I don't know why you bet on Florida, dog. You know them boys is terrible. That's tough. Why would you bet on them boys, dog? I try to give you time to get out of that bet too, because I know them boys trash, dog. Come on, man. You got to stop. You got to stop, Blue North. You got to stop, man. But appreciate you for sending the money and everything. Appreciate you, boss. Um, don't bet on Florida no more, bro. Do not bet on Florida no more. They will disappoint you. Betting on Florida and betting on Florida State is the same thing. The only time I would tell you to bet on Florida is when they play Florida State. That's tough. All right, let's keep it moving. So obviously they're projecting Texas to win the SEC. Now, Texas' opponent in the quarterfinal would either be Alabama or Tennessee. Alabama or Tennessee. Who do you guys think Texas's opponent should be in the quarterfinal? Alabama or Tennessee? Which matchup would you rather see? Alabama versus Texas or Tennessee versus Texas? Me personally, I've already seen Alabama versus Texas and all that throughout the years. I want to see Tennessee. I want to see Tennessee. I want to see Tennessee versus Texas. I don't think they play each other this year. So I'd love to see that matchup. I'd rather see Texas versus Tennessee. I'm tired of Alabama. I'm tired of Bama. Obviously, Tennessee's already beaten Alabama this year, but if they were to play them again, I'm not confident that Tennessee would win that game. I'm really not. I'm really not. But yeah, let's keep it going because I see a lot of people put Tennessee, so they'd rather see Tennessee versus Texas than Alabama. But my gut feeling will tell me that Alabama would win against Tennessee, and then they would play against Texas. Now, Alabama versus Texas, I don't think it's a sure thing for Texas. I don't think so. But anyway, Notre Dame or Indiana versus Oregon. Notre Dame or Indiana versus Oregon. Who would you rather see play against Oregon? Notre Dame or Indiana? Notre Dame or Indiana? Notre Dame or Indiana? Who would you rather see play against Oregon in the playoffs, in the quarterfinals? Everybody picking Indiana. Indiana would beat Notre Dame. I know who won't beat Notre Dame. I saw them play them last night. Man, Notre Dame put that thing on them last night, boy. Oh man, college football playoffs. Who's most likely to make the field? Well, there you got it, guys. That's them projections. So let's go ahead and go on over to some of these scores and talk about what really happened yesterday. Let's start with none other than uh, state champs, the Miami Hurricanes. Beat their team in Florida. Unfortunately, lost to Georgia Tech yesterday. Now, I think it's safe to say that Georgia Tech is also state champs. They're state champs of the state of Florida. They beat Florida State and Miami this season. That's tough. That's tough, man. But Miami went up to Georgia Tech and lost this game. Like I said, guys, we all saw this defense for what it was. To me, it's no surprise. For some of you guys, you might have been more frustrated than I was seeing this because I've been watching this team all season long, and at any given point, the past couple of weeks, we could have taken an L. Obviously, the offense bailed us out. Fought to the end against Cal, fought to the end against Virginia Tech. Had to pull off on Duke, stuff like that. Florida State, that was never in question. We was gonna beat them regardless. Anything. They didn't have a pulse. So it is what it is, man. At this point, I just want Miami to win out and continue to play, compete, or whatever. Obviously, it's hard to project, championships and stuff like that when there's such a lot of uncertainties, like the ACC championship game and all that, the standings, everything, how things gonna play out. So obviously, Clemson beat Virginia Tech yesterday. Pitt won; they beat Virginia and stuff like that. So we're gonna talk about all of that. But today's show, I don't want to drag it out too long. I really don't want to be online too long today. So we're going to talk about the top 25 teams because that's what really going to matter right now. And then, we'll go into the conferences also because obviously it's coming down to the championship. So I really can't skip nothing today. As much as I would want to, I really can't skip nothing. So obviously you guys know this is one of those, this is an open mic show. So I will put the link in the chat for those of you guys that want to come in. We're going to talk about these games, and we're going to talk about the games that's upcoming. We're not just going to talk about just Miami and Florida State and Florida. We're going to talk about all the games because right now all these games matter. Some matter more than others, but conference championships are coming up. Playoffs are coming up. Playoff committee got to rank these teams. We're going to talk about the scenarios in the SEC. There's plenty of teams that could finish 10-2. There's plenty, trust me, plenty. It's a lot. We could see a playoff where a lot of teams that deserve to be in there don't get in there. It might be an SEC bias. The Big Ten might have complaints and all that. You might just get one Big 12, one ACC, and the rest of it be, full of Big Ten and SEC. So it's a lot to talk about. But nonetheless, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. You guys can come on in and get your thoughts and opinions on what it is that you saw yesterday. We'll start off with the Miami game, of course. One of the teams that lost in the state of Florida. All the teams in Florida lost yesterday. Miami, Florida, and Florida State. Obviously, Miami's loss meant more, but was the least embarrassing, if you would say, because Florida State got blown out and, Florida got blown out. Nonetheless, still embarrassing, but the least embarrassing out of all the three. The link is in the chat for any of you guys that want to come on in. Just click the link. So, Miami versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech scored in every single quarter, 7 points a quarter, a touchdown every quarter in that game. Haynes King rushed 20 times for 93 yards and a touchdown. Georgia Tech as a whole ran the ball 48 times yesterday and threw the ball 16. Haynes King was 6 for 6 passing the ball yesterday. They did not pass the ball. They did the same thing they did to Florida State against Miami. Brent Key said it at halftime in Dublin against Florida State, and that's exactly what he did to Miami too. Run the ball. That's it. That was their game plan, run the ball. They switched out like 3 different quarterbacks yesterday. We couldn't stop the run for nothing in the world. We could not contain the outside for nothing in the world. Lance Guidry, I don't know y'all feelings on him in this defense. I think I got an idea where you guys are leaning. Some of you guys have already expressed on other shows and social media that y'all want him up out of here. He's too stubborn. He will not change. Obviously, you know that Georgia Tech is running the ball, and you do no adjustments to stop it. Plain and simple. They ran the ball like they was the 2023 Michigan team on Miami yesterday. That's what you saw when you watch Miami versus Georgia Tech. They ran the ball. And that was it. Obviously, certain things could have led the game different ways, but we're not going to make excuses. Never put the Never put the game in the ref's hands. Obviously, playing to see, pass interference, holding, all that stuff. None of it matters. None of it was called. It's crazy though, watching your receiver get hold on pass interference, and then the next exact play, since they didn't call it on us, they call they call holding against us. That's tough. So you don't call pass interference, but the very next play you call holding on us, man. Shout out to the referees, man. Every week for every team, there's a referee out there that just be messing up everything. But it's all cool. We ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna put all the blame on them. Because had we playing a better game, who would have won? So it is what it is. It ain't on the refs. It's on them coaches and them players. That's it. This is what it is. Georgia Tech, they made us their homecoming. They made this the game of a lifetime for them. We was the Super Bowl that they won. They rushed the field. They did everything they could to win that game, to maintain that game. Brent Key, going into the fourth quarter, told us everything that needed to be done to win the game, and that's what he did. We failed. That's it. So obviously, we got a whole bye week now to sit on this loss. Um, Actually, the team's a little bit banged up, so hopefully some guys can get healthy and come back out with a fresh start, same mentality, same head. 1-0, 1-0. Hopefully they keep that same mentality. I want to see how Miami comes out after this loss. I want to see if we lose the team or they actually mature and band together and go out and play football like it's 1-0 all over again. Obviously, we still got a lot to play for. It's not like we're on our second loss. The playoff is out the picture and all that. We still got a lot to play for. So I just want to see how that team, turn out. Now Georgia Tech got their sixth win on the season. They're 6-4. They just basically got an ACC win and they're bowl eligible now. So Georgia Tech is bowl eligible. So congratulations to the Yellow Jackets. That's 2 years in a row now they've beaten Miami. So congratulations to them. Um, let's keep it moving though. You know what? I'm not gonna do top 25. I'm gonna just do it through the conferences. That'll make this a lot easier and a lot faster. So obviously, running through the ACC games that got played, Cal beat Wake Forest on Friday night. Obviously, we just talked about Georgia Tech. Notre Dame dropped 52 on Florida State. Dropped 52 on them. 52-3. My goodness. My goodness. 52-3. 52-3. Who do Notre Dame think they is? Who do Notre Dame think they is? Notre Dame think they are the Georgia. They think they the Georgia of South Bend. 52-3. Florida State has no pride. Florida State has no goddamn pride. No pride. Them and the Gators are the same. Florida State and the Gators are the same. They have no pride. They play with no passion. They play with no pride at all. Bobby Bowden would gut this whole team. Would tell them all to pack your shit and get out. My goodness. Florida State. 1-9, dog. God dog it. 1-9. How do you go from 13-1 to 1-9? What kind of meltdown is this? My Dion, because you guys like to mention Dion a lot. Dion inherited a Colorado team that was 1-11 the season before. 1-11. Now they're playoff eligible. I think they won like 7 games already now. Are 8 games? Is it 7 or 8 games they won already? We'll get down to it. But my goodness. Oh my God. I need a Florida State fan to write me a whole goddamn essay explaining this. Please explain this to me. Please explain this to me. Who are you guys gonna fire? Like plain and simple, who are you gonna fire? You gotta fire somebody. Obviously, you can't fire Norvell. That buyout is way too big. But y'all gotta fire somebody, man. Somebody gotta get fired. Somebody on that coaching staff gotta get fired. I think at this point you might have to gut that whole coaching staff. You might have to gut that whole coaching staff. Somebody gotta go. Florida State fans, please let me know in the chat, man. Who gotta go? Who gotta go? Who on that coaching staff gotta go? Who should have been gone yesterday? Who should have never took a flight back to Tallahassee? Some of these coaches gotta go. Now I know obviously y'all gonna throw out the usual suspects, the Randy Shannons, of course, the Ron Dugans. What about Atkins? Y'all want to get rid of Atkins? I don't see none of y'all saying Atkins' name, but he's the offensive coordinator, and y'all offense is at an all-time low. It's at an all-time low. I don't even know what y'all averaging right now, but it gets lower every week. It gets lower every week. You went and put up 3 points against Notre Dame. 3 goddamn points. My goodness. My goodness. Gutter juice, trash, garbage, basuda. My God. I'm starting to think you guys are getting NIL funds from Solid Waste Authority. That's got to be where you get your NIL money for that team. Solid Waste Authority. It's great garbage. It's great garbage. Man, Florida State fans in 2024 has nothing to say. I'm going to put the link in the chat. I see Montrell in here. Montrell, man, if you could provide us with a list of coaches that need to be fired, what need to be done at Florida State and all that good stuff, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. I need a Florida State fan opinion on this. 52-3. God dog it. Man. You know what's crazy is I tuned into this game because I was flipping back and forth between that one and Alabama and LSU. And it was 7-3 in the first quarter. Man, when I came back, it was like 28-3. So I was like, all right, let me go back to the other game. The other games that was going was more exciting. I came back, it was like 40-something-3. And here I am. I didn't even finish watching that game last night. To my surprise, they dropped 52 on you. 50 burger. 50 burger. Man, that's tough. And you had their quarterback look like a Heisman candidate, too. My boy ran for 2 touchdowns on y'all. Man. And threw 1. That's tough. They say fire both coordinators. What about them position coaches? They can't recruit either. Right now, I don't think Florida State got a wide receiver committed in their class. They also got players flipping from them. The receiver flipped from them to Georgia, which is, ironic. They lost a guy, Bolden, also last year to Georgia. Man, that's tough. That's tough. Oh, man. So, look at God. Look at God. I want y'all to look at God. Virginia went out and beat Pitt last night. Look at God. 2 weeks in a row, Pitt takes an L. Pitt lost last week to SMU by blowout. And then Virginia handled business this week against them. So even though Miami lost to Georgia Tech yesterday, some things actually fell in place. Now, obviously, the big fish to watch is Clemson and SMU. Those are really the two now to really pay attention to if Miami win the next 2 games, which I do believe they will. I do believe we beat Wake Forest and Syracuse. But Pitt went out and got themselves basically eliminated right now with 2 ACC losses. Things are just falling into place. Say Florida State fan. Lose to Virginia football is crazy. Losing to Virginia football is crazy. That's tough. So Shout out to Virginia Tech, man. Handling business yesterday against Pitt. 2 weeks in a row, Pitt has dropped 2 ACC games. So that pretty much going to put them out of contention. Plain and simple. They do play Clemson. They do play Clemson. So obviously right now, it ain't looking too good for Pitt. But we need them to pull an upset on Clemson. You don't want no kind of conversation about this. We kind of need them to pull a upset on Clemson, regardless. So speaking of Clemson, um, Virginia Tech pitched down their legs yesterday. The first half of the game, there was no offense found by neither one of these teams. Virginia Tech, I think it was a pick six, or they had or some sort of return or something, and that was the only offense in that game. And then in the second half, Clemson came alive for 24 points. Slow, sluggish game. Virginia Tech found a way to lose. Virginia Tech right now is sitting at 5-5, and obviously they're looking for a bowl eligible win. That's pretty much all they're playing for. Coming into the season, so much hype around Virginia Tech. So many seniors coming back, so many production, this, that, and the third. And right now they're sitting at a 500 team, 5-5. Man, that's tough. Syracuse went out and did Syracuse things. Lost to Boston College. Fortunate for Syracuse, they're 6-3. They're already bowl eligible. Neither one of these teams was playing for any ACC aspirations. So, shout out to Boston College for making themselves, one more game closer to being bowl eligible. So that's where we're at right now with Boston College and Syracuse. Duke handled business. Manny Diaz picked up another win. 7-3. Manny Diaz, first year as a head coach at Duke, he is 7-3. 7-3. 29-19. Good win against NC State. Duke is already bowl eligible. So, shout out to Manny Diaz. Shout out to Manny Diaz and them boys over there, them Blue Devils. They got the job done. So let's go into next week. Let's go into week 12. We're going to go into week 12 in the ACC, baby. So this coming week in the ACC, this is going to be one of those games that you must pay attention to. Pitt versus Clemson. Both of these teams 7-2. After today, I don't think Pitt will be ranked. I think Pitt was at number 18. They lost to Virginia. I think they'll drop from the top 24. The top 25, I'm sorry. If not, they'll be damn near close to it. Clemson, obviously, they were number 23. They won yesterday. I think they'll move up a little bit. Not too much, just a little. So, Pitt versus Clemson. This game is being played in Pittsburgh. This is a home game for Pitt. Now, we don't necessarily need Pitt to actually, win, but it would do Miami a huge favor if they did. It would give Clemson that second loss and make us, with our one loss in ACC conference, a lot closer and a lot better to getting into the ACC championship game. Plain and simple. With all the scenarios, with all these SEC teams probably gonna finish 10-2, it's best for Miami to get into the ACC championship and win it. Because I could see them, snubbing us out for an SEC team, even if Miami finished 11-1 and didn't play for the ACC championship. I could see them trying to snub us out for an SEC team with 2 losses already. So obviously we need some things to happen. So if Pitt were to knock off Clemson, that would make it even a better chance for Miami. So anything that, up the percentages of us going into the ACC championship game, we need to happen. I'm going to root for it. So obviously Clemson versus Pitt, I'm rooting for Pitt to win that game. I do believe that Clemson will be favored. Um, Pitt's coming off of 2 weeks of losses. So I do believe that, you know, Clemson's going to be favored in this game. It is a road game for Clemson, so we'll see how that turn out. Klubnik, so far this year, 21 touchdowns with 3 interceptions. Offense kind of slowed down on him a little bit. Clemson's been basically fighting the last couple weeks to get points. They were looking dominant, a couple weeks before. Everybody was like, "Oh man, they're this, that, and the third in the ACC ever since the Georgia loss." And then all of a sudden, everything slowed back down, and it's back to reality for that offense with Klubnik. But Klubnik's only thrown for 2,064 yards so far, which is kind of terrible when you're looking at the standards of quarterbacks right now. That's actually doing well, especially in the ACC and other conferences. Syracuse and Cal. Cal is at 5 wins right now. They're looking to see if they could get a bowl eligible. They got 3 games left to get bowl eligible. Syracuse taking a trip to Cal, so this is one of those shots that Cal has. I think Syracuse is not as good as a team that everybody projected that it would be. So we'll see. But Cal isn't that good themselves, so that should be one of those games where it gets a little grimy, but nonetheless. Virginia versus Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's at home. That's a 3:30 game on NBC. I think Notre Dame will handle business. They're not going to beat Virginia 52-3. I don't think so. I think Virginia actually plays with some pride and dignity that it don't end up to be 52-3. I still think they'll lose though. That's tough, Virginia. Um, Boston College. They're looking to be bowl eligible. Boston College versus SMU. SMU is still the only team in the ACC right now that is undefeated in conference play. They're 5-0. They'll take on Boston College on ESPN at 3:30 next week. Now, this is in Dallas. This is a road game. Not quite sure if Boston College could get this job done. SMU's been rolling. They're 8-1. Only lost to BYU. Been doing a thing or two in the ACC. So that's going to be one of them interesting ones. Now, if you're a Miami Hurricane fan, obviously you want Boston College to get the upset. You want any possible scenario where Miami gets into the ACC championship game, the highest percentage chance we want it. So obviously you'll be rooting against SMU. Now, I know it's a lot of former Miami Hurricanes over there. It's a lot of former coaches over there. Hell, De'Ara King is the quarterback coach. That kind of give you a picture of where we at. Rhett Lashley was our former offensive coordinator. He's the head coach. We got so many players over there. They're saying that is Miami B. We're Miami A, they're Miami B, plain and simple. They got so many of our former players. We want them to lose. We ain't rooting for Miami B. Plain and simple. When it comes down to our chances of getting in the playoffs, our chances of winning the ACC, this is what we need to happen. Clemson to lose, SMU to lose. Anything to make our chances better. Pitt already handled themselves for us. Now, if Miami goes out and lose to Wake Forest or lose to Syracuse, throw all the scenarios out the window. Miami will not make the ACC championship game, and they will not make the playoffs. If Miami takes another L this season, they will not make the ACC championship, and they will not make the playoffs. They'll just be playing for one of those, high-end bowl games. Plain and simple. And we all know how that goes. Once the team don't get to a certain level or play at a certain level or play for, something worthy, the bowl game tend to go down the drain. All right, so keeping it moving, Louisville Louisville versus Stanford. That game coming up. Stanford is 2-7. Louisville is 6-3. Louisville's already bowl eligible. Louisville's already out of contention for the ACC. Um, yeah, so Stanford, Louisville. Think Louisville win. Just better their chances of getting to a even better bowl. Wake Forest versus North Carolina. I think this game might actually propel North Carolina into a bowl game. I think they'll probably get the win over Wake Forest. Wake Forest at 4-5, and North Carolina is 5-4. I think Mac Brown will get this win, and they'll be bowl eligible in North Carolina. Pretty much that's all they're playing for right now. Bowl eligibility, postseason. A little extra money here and there for the school. But that's your ACC matchups this upcoming week. So if you're a Miami Hurricane fan, obviously you want to pay attention to Pitt versus Clemson. You want Pitt to win that game. And SMU versus Boston College. You want Boston College to win that game. That's where we stand right now. Don't have to worry about Georgia Tech or Miami. Neither one of those two teams play this week. So, yeah, bye week. Get to sit back, let the team get healthy. All right, so let's go on over into the SEC. Let's go into the SEC. That's where most of the drama is going to be, guys. All you college football fans, that's where most of the drama is going to be, in the SEC. Let's go back to week 11. Right now they're in the week 12. But a lot of drama unfold. With Georgia losing yesterday, a lot of drama unfold. Because now Georgia could actually play spoiler. They could actually play spoiler now. Before they lost yesterday, we was looking at matchups where they play Tennessee. We was looking at also matchups where Texas A&M and Texas play. And obviously, LSU was hanging around. They're no longer hanging around. Alabama just basically killed that. So let's look at it. So the Georgia Bulldogs. Sarge came in here and told me that they was going to beat Ole Miss, all that, this and the third. Being a Georgia fan, rooting for his team, thinking that they're going to go, 11-1 and go into the playoffs, and they're going to win, and they're going to have one loss on the season, and it was going to only be that Bama. And then in Lee Corso fashion, Ole Miss looked at him and said, "Not so fast, my friend." Ole Miss beat the bejesus out of Georgia yesterday. Georgia offense is absolutely terrible. Stetson Bennett is an interception throwing machine. Stetson Bennett is horrible. You see what I just did there? Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett. Carson Beck, man. Carson Beck is Stetson Bennett all over again with a Georgia defense. Stetson Bennett with a Georgia defense. Carson Beck with a Georgia defense. Georgia defense has been bailing this dude out for so long. I don't know if Carson, if I want to compare Carson Beck to a quarterback, I would compare him to Tyler Van Dyke. I would compare Carson Beck to Tyler Van Dyke. That's tough, Georgia fans. You guys have yourself a 2024 Tyler Van Dyke. That's what you got. Tyler Van Dyke. Georgia has their own version of Tyler Van Dyke this season. Man, that's tough. Ole Miss handled business. Signature win. He made history against Georgia. Georgia is the highest ranked opponent that Ole Miss has ever beaten. Georgia is the highest ranked. At number 3 in the country, Georgia was the highest ranked opponent that Ole Miss has beaten. Man, that's tough. Knocked off Georgia. I don't make no sense. I don't make no sense. Wait, Drip, Drip, you got to read that before you send it, man. I don't make no sense since big bro. Stephen Bennett, I think you meant to say Stetson Bennett, won a national championship. See, you got to reread that. You got to reread that. That defense gave Stetson Bennett everything he wanted. Obviously, obviously, that defense is also giving Carson Beck everything he wanted. He just throwing interceptions. I don't think he know how to read defense. That defense been bailing him out, but he just been trash. He just been trash. The last couple of games, you seen it. That defense of Georgia been bailing him out. A lot of people pick Ole Miss to beat Georgia because they don't trust Carson Beck. They don't trust Carson Beck. That little twin from the Miami Hurricane female basketball team got that boy distracted. It got to be it. That's the only excuse I could give. That boy is distracted. He got to be distracted. Georgia is 5-2 in conference right now. Ole Miss improves to 8-2. Like I said, guys, in a second, we're going to look at this conference as a whole. We're going to look at the whole standing for the conference because the SEC right now, it's going to be diabolical. It's going to be chaos. There's ways that a lot of these teams are going to finish 10-2. And it's going to be a huge problem, especially for the rest of the teams in the playoffs. You're going to start hearing SEC teams complaining that, they're better than this team and that team, and they should be in. If this team with 2 losses and they got 2 losses also, it's going to be a shit show. But we're going to talk about all of that. Drip, I'm glad you came in when you came in, Drip. Because look, explain that. 59, I'm sorry. Let me stop exaggerating. 49-17. 49-17. Man. Now, I ain't naive. I ain't stupid. I ain't dumb. I know y'all ain't got y'all Lord and Savior, DJ Lagway, in my Q voice. Man, we ain't got Lagway, man. If we had Lagway, we win all the games. We ain't got Lagway. In my little Q squeaky voice. Man, that's tough. You know what? I don't know if you want to talk, Drip, but the link in the chat, man, you can click it. I don't know if you want to talk, but the link in the chat. So, 49-17, a total embarrassment to the state of Florida. Florida State and Florida is the same team in 2024. They are the absolute same team. They are discouraging. They are dishonorable. They are very disrespectful to the state of Florida this year. They are absolutely trash, garbage, basura, all of that. And to think during the week, Florida had the audacity to come out and tell us that they was gonna keep Billy Napier. It's gonna keep. You made midway through the season, almost at the end of a terrible season. You're projected to win 5 games. You're at 4 right now. With 3 games left, where you're only favored in 1, Florida State. Because you definitely ain't beating no Ole Miss. You definitely ain't beating no LSU. So obviously, where do the 6 win? You're not gonna make a bowl game. Man, you ain't got no quarterback, you ain't got no DBs, you ain't got no Trey Wilson, the supposedly best receiver in the country in the offseason. He was the offseason best receiver of the year. He was supposed to get whatever that award they give to the best receiver. Florida fans, man, I ain't gonna lie, y'all lied to me all goddamn offseason. From week 1 all the way up, y'all lied to me. Y'all told me y'all was gonna beat all these teams that you didn't beat. You told me you was gonna beat Tennessee, you didn't. The only team you said that you was gonna beat and you actually beat was UCF. Man, that's tough. Florida been lying to me all off season, man. I've been in them Florida spaces all off season, getting my head bowed for no reason. They kicking me out just for being in there. All they saw was the Miami logo, and they're like, kick him out. We don't want him to hear us over here talking all this good stuff about the Gators. How we gonna win nine? We're gonna be 9-3, 9-3, and here we are with 3 games left, and the boys are 4-5. My goodness, Florida. My goodness. Y'all told me this Texas game was gonna be competitive. Y'all was gonna go out there and play with heart. Y'all was gonna go out there and play with heart. Y'all played. Y'all told me y'all played a hell of a game against Georgia. Hell, I ain't gonna lie to you, Florida fans. I thought that if DJ Lagway didn't get injured last week, y'all would have beat Florida. I'm sorry, Georgia. Y'all would have beat Georgia. I thought so, but obviously he got hurt. Obviously, you're playing with Pop Warner, or whatever that guy's name is. You're playing with Pop Warner right now, and obviously it ain't working out. 40, 49-17, dog. 49-17, and you only scored them 17 because they decided that you know what? Let's just play all our backups. Let's just play all the people from the walk on. Let's play every walk on we got. Come on, Florida. Play with some pride. God dang it. It's funny when both of your quarterback go down. No, it ain't funny. Listen, I ain't laughing at DJ Lagway being hurt. I ain't laughing at Graham Mertz being hurt. It's a part of football. Damn, you saw yesterday how many DBs in the week before for Miami? We got injuries too, man. We got injuries at the worst position. Y'all listen, y'all Gator fans told me how sorry our secondary was, how sorry our DBs was all off season. And now we taking even more hits at the DBs. We getting injuries too. So trust me, I ain't laughing at no injuries. I'm laughing at how y'all losing these games. I'm laughing at all the lies that was told in the off season. All the hype. Y'all was gonna be 9-3 down. That's with the toughest schedule in the country. I listened to your delusional fan base say they were gonna be 9-3. Say they were gonna get into the playoffs at 9-3. I keep receipts. I keep receipts. Man, that's tough. Take Cam Ward from y'all. Y'all be just like us. So now we're gonna be like y'all. Damn. So all 3 teams in the state of Florida, without Cam Ward, we all would look the same. That's tough. I think Miami would have a fighting chance with Emory over both of y'all. I still think Emory would have beat Florida. But that's just me, man. Tennessee handled business, unlike Florida. Tennessee handled business. Ain't trying to hear that how your players are hurt. Get the out of here. It's a part of the game, man. It's injuries happen. It's part of the game. It is what it is. We ain't trying to hear it. I'm with you on that. 89. I'm with you. I ain't trying to hear it. Injuries happen. Yeah, I ain't trying to hear it. Tennessee, 33-14 against Mississippi State. That's tough. Tennessee improved to 8-1. They still got a fighting chance in the SEC to play for the championship. Georgia's still on that schedule, so we'll see how that turned out. Alabama beat LSU yesterday significantly, drastically. Laid the hammer, knocked them out. DeBoer, Kalen DeBoer still on that sideline with no collar, no polo on. He's still wearing them shirts. Bama fans, they got a problem with him not wearing collar shirts. That's the only problem they can find right now, outside of losing to Vanderbilt. So, Jalen Monroe, man, 4 rushing touchdowns last night against LSU. Toasted them. Was out there just toasting them. I think he had one for like 70-some yards from the line of scrimmage. Man, that was tough. LSU got totally demolished. Totally demolished. They bowl eligible, though. They bowl eligible. Oklahoma, one of the worst decisions of your life was following Texas into the SEC. Oklahoma is 5-5 right now, and they 1-5 in the SEC. Lost to Missouri last night, 30-23. Man, that's tough. Man, that's tough. Oklahoma, y'all. Oklahoma right now is looking for a win to be bowl eligible. And for Oklahoma fans, this season couldn't get. I'm about to say something corny. Goddamn, this season couldn't get over any sooner. For Oklahoma fan, this season couldn't get over any sooner. Man, anyways, South Carolina versus Vanderbilt. Damn, Vandy. I knew South Carolina was gonna beat y'all. After watching them play Texas A&M, seeing all that speed, I don't understand the Gamecocks, man. They should be a way better team. They should have a way better record too. All that speed and all that, man. They need to utilize their players a lot better. But yeah, 6-3, they bowl eligible. Vanderbilt's bowl eligible. Man, that's tough. Oklahoma's not bowl eligible, but Vanderbilt is bowl eligible. That's where we at right now in the SEC. So let's look at next week. What's Sarge at? What's Sarge at? How we get past the Georgia game and Sarge ain't coming in here yet? What's Sarge at? The people want answers, Sarge. Now, I'm finna text Sarge. You finna get on the live. You finna come do some explaining. Sarge, you ain't finna run, Sarge. I don't know if y'all can see this. Nah, y'all ain't gonna be able to see this. But so, when Miami got beat yesterday, or is on the verge of losing the game, Sarge sent me about 100 laughing emojis. So you know what I did last night? I returned the favor. I waited till I knew for a fact that Georgia got beat. And I returned them 100 laughing emojis. That's tough. Hell of a night, man. Hell of a night. That's tough. Okay, so SEC Week 12. SEC Week 12. This is where things going to get a little shooken up. Now, kick it off, 12 o'clock, ABC. You got Texas versus Arkansas. That's in Arkansas. I think Texas win. Texas move on. No drama there. Auburn, UM Monroe, take Auburn to win, get their fourth win on the season. They're at home. UNL Monroe, I don't think they'll really do much or whatever. But if UNL Monroe pull the upset, they would be bowl eligible. That's tough. I seen a clip from UNL Monroe. I think it was from last week or sometime during the week where a coach and a player was on the sideline, damn near about to fight. So UNL Monroe, I wouldn't put no chip against them. Now this week in the SEC is one of the worst weeks ever in college football. For most of these teams, they schedule cupcake games towards the end of the season. So these games that you normally would see in the beginning of the season for all the other conferences, the SEC schedule them on the back end of the schedule. So you got UNL Monroe. Now you got Kentucky taking on Murray State. That's tough. Murray State, Kentucky. Kentucky will get their fourth win, and it is what it is. Murray State is just like Florida State. They're 1-9. Come on, man. Do better. Now, Mercer versus Alabama. Obviously, Tuscaloosa. Alabama will win this game. I don't care what Mercer's record is. Mercer is 9-1. Alabama's going to blow them out. Plain and simple. Keep it moving. LSU versus Florida. This one is played in Gainesville. Let's talk about it. LSU versus Florida. This is a pivotal game for Florida. I think the next two games are pivotal for Florida. At this point, I think the next three games are pivotal for Florida. Before DJ Lagway went down, I would automatically give them a win over Florida State. But at this point, watching Florida now with a new quarterback, now keep in mind that was Texas, heavy competition. Keep in mind they're going to play LSU now. They're going to play a hot Ole Miss team that just beat Georgia right after this one. They have no Lagway. He's not even on layaway. They have no Graham Mertz. They got Pop Warner. Pop Warner. That's what they got. Half of their DBs, half of their starters. Trey Wilson is out for the season. I don't see Florida winning this game. At this point, Florida State is trash and garbage. But I think they could probably get the job done. They could probably get the job done against Florida. Florida State could possibly beat Florida at this point. I was giving Florida a guaranteed win the past couple weeks, but now I think that game is a 50-50 game. I think Florida versus Florida State at this point now is a 50-50 game. Both of these teams are gutted. I think Florida versus Florida State at the end of the season is a 50-50 game. I was giving Florida all this time. I was giving them the guaranteed win. I'm taking that back. My mind has changed. That game could go either way. The next two games, Florida is going to get gutted. LSU is going to blow them out. Or if not blow them out, they're going to beat them convincingly. Ole Miss is definitely going to blow them out. And then them in Florida State, they'll slug it out in the dumps. When Florida get to Florida State, Florida will still have 4 wins with no possible chance of going to a bowl game. Hell, Florida State ain't got no chance in hell to do anything. It's going to be a slugfest in the dumpsters. Who could be more trash? Florida versus Florida State. That's what that game is going to be like. I don't even think that'll be televised anywhere. I don't think it should be televised anywhere. At this point, Florida and Florida State should call me up right now and have me stream the game. Have me go to the game with 2 iPhones and broadcast the game for y'all. This is how much of a dumpster this game is going to be. Have me and like 2 of my close friends go out there with our iPhones, give y'all all kind of bad angles, all kind of bad signals. That's how bad this game is going to be. Let me cover the game. Let me go out there with 2 iPhones and a tripod. Man, that's tough. This game should be aired on Cartoon Network. Man, that's tough. My goodness. Florida versus Florida State. Man, I can see it now. Billy Napier and Mike Norvell meet before the game to shake hands and chop it up and then go to their respectable corners. I could see this being both of them be like, man, listen, if I get fired, come get me. Hire me on your staff. And then I could see Billy doing the same, saying, Norvell, man, when you fire them boys, bring us on. Bring us on. He said, you don't believe that DJ will be back next week? When it comes to injuries, I don't, especially hamstrings. I don't know. I don't know the extent of the injury. They're not going to tell you. They're just going to tell you it's day to day. It's a possibility. It's a game decision, and then obviously you get your hopes up, and then you don't see DJ Lagway. So I don't know if he'll play next week. The competitor in him probably will be like, you know what? Even if I'm hurt, I'm still going to play. I'm going to fake some of these recovery results, and I'm going to get out there anxious to play, and I'm going to probably re-injure myself. So I don't know. GOK, how can FSU and Florida Gators fans talk about Miami? They can't. Haven't you guys noticed the difference in the chat? Every other Miami loss, they would have been in here talking so much smack. they would have been talking so much trash. There's only one, a few of them that will come in and talk some trash. Obviously, Butterbook, he'll talk some trash. His team ain't playing with no pride and nothing. They still ain't changed their diaper from week one, so it is what it is, man. But I think Florida, the next two games, they're gonna get gutted with DJ Lagway or not. They're gonna get gutted. He really don't have no pieces right now. You really don't have no defense. Your DBs, your starters are gone. They all injured. Your best receivers, your running back. Come on, man. Y'all ain't got nobody. Montreal Johnson is gone. Shoot. Now, granted, Trey Webb is hurt. You got granted Bach. He's doing pretty good. That kid doing pretty good. From watching him, that's a phenomenal running back. But he ain't gonna be enough. He's not enough. Not for LSU. Not for Ole Miss. You're gonna be gutted. You're gonna get the next two games. You're gonna drop them, and the Florida State game is gonna be worthless because you're not gonna be able to win to be bowl eligible. And Florida State, right now, the only thing they got to play for. The only thing they got to play for is Charleston Southern. Beat Charleston Southern. That's the only thing Florida State fans are hoping for right now. Have some pride and beat Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern, think about this. In 2024, as of right now, Charleston Southern is considered to be Florida State's Super Bowl. At this point in the season, Charleston Southern is Florida State's Super Bowl. If they lose to Charleston Southern, they might start doing crazy, idiotic things you never seen people do before. Florida State fans might go on a manhunt looking for that one dude that promised to eat dog shit. And they're going to make him eat that dog shit because they think he cursed the team. They think he cursed the team when he didn't eat the dog shit. You're going to see a whole bunch of Florida State fans with pitchforks and knives and all that running around looking for the one dude that promised to eat dog shit that didn't eat dog shit because now they think that he cursed the team. Charleston Southern is Florida State's Super Bowl. Let it sink in. Let it sink in. Put it out there. Go write it on Twitter. Go write it on Facebook. Charleston Southern is Florida State's Super Bowl in 2024. Man, that's tough. Let's keep it moving. Missouri versus South Carolina. That should be a good game. That should be a really good game right there. Missouri versus South Carolina. Both teams right now, they're both bowl eligible. They're just looking to better, put themselves in a better situation, in a better bowl game to get more money. That's it. And obviously, sell recruits that their program is headed in the right direction. So this should be a good game. A must-see TV. Georgia versus Tennessee. Must see. This game is in Athens. Georgia coming off a loss to Ole Miss. Tennessee, they're 8-1, one loss in conference. Georgia's playing spoiler right now. Georgia beats Tennessee. Chaos. Absolute chaos. This will be absolute chaos. Can Georgia lose 3 games this season in the regular season? Do you guys think that Tennessee has what it takes to beat Georgia this upcoming week? Do you think Georgia beats Tennessee and cause more chaos in the SEC? That's going to be a good one. Now, obviously, like I told you guys before, and I stand on that, I don't trust Carson Beck. And I'm not even a Georgia fan. I don't trust him. He's a turnover machine. He's been exposed. And I think if you're a coach that's watching them, then obviously if you're a smart coach, you're going to take advantage of some of that Carson Beck's, you know, dilemmas, some the issues that he has. You're going to take advantage of it. I could see Tennessee winning this game, but I could see Georgia showing up like when they're down and just out. All of a sudden, boom, they get a win that nobody thought it was, or the country doubted them to win, and they get it, and then, the story goes on. That's where I'm at with Georgia, Tennessee right now. I think this game could go either way. I'm with you, B Beam. I think it's a 50-50 game. Oh, man. I don't know where to lean with this one. This is one of those games, if you're a betting man, obviously there's no spread right now. Georgia's at home. It's on ABC. It's prime time. I don't know where to lean with this one. This is one of those where I'll just watch it because I know it's going to be very entertaining, but I would stay away from it. And then obviously Texas A&M, they're playing against New Mexico State. So one of those SEC, cupcake opponent at the end of the season kind of deal. So let's run through the Big 10 and the Big 12, and then we'll talk scenarios about the SEC and the ACC potential championship games. So let's go into the Big 12. So for the Big 12, a lot of games got played, man. A lot of games got played. BYU, this game was on one of my upset alert games, but I thought that BYU would win, obviously without Cam Rising, and it came down to the end. So if you took Utah to cover the spread, you would win that game. You would win that money. BYU survived. They're now 9-0. They're 6-0 in conference. More than likely will play for the Big 12 championship. Iowa State started out undefeated, 7-0, just like Pitt. And the last two games they dropped. Kansas State beat them 45-36 yesterday. So Iowa State started out pretty well. We all thought it could have been a crash course for BYU and Iowa State to play each other 2 weeks ago. And here we are now with Iowa State with 2 losses. Who didn't lose yesterday? Colorado. Colorado improves their chances of playing for the Big 12 championship. 2 seasons in at Colorado, Deion is on a possible mission right now to play for the Big 12 championship. Man, the storylines are going to go nuts. The Colorado content is going to go nuts. Man, that's tough. Shedeur Sanders, the talk of Travis Hunter, possibly winning Heisman. Everything is going to go up as long as Colorado keep winning. They beat Texas Tech yesterday, 41-17. Last minute touchdown, fumble touchdown or whatever. Put the game away. That game was basically won with I want to say 3 minutes left in the game. Texas Tech hanging around the whole time made it very uncomfortable for Colorado. But Colorado got the job done. Obviously, you guys were watching the show. Sarge came on here. He betted me $50, which he's already sent me, that Texas Tech was going to beat Colorado. Nobody believes in Deion. Well, I believed in you, Deion. I put $50 on you, and I won. That's tough. Y'all don't believe? You don't believe? West Virginia is one game away from being bowl eligible after beating Cincinnati yesterday. They beat them 31-24. Cincinnati 5-4 now. So is West Virginia. Both of those teams look to basically become bowl eligible. That's all they're playing for, bowl eligibility. UCF, no surprise here, got beat. Like I said, guys, yesterday was one of the worst day for the state of Florida. One of the worst day for the state of Florida. If I'm not mistaken, I think USF played yesterday or sometime this week, and they got beat. They got beat. If I'm not mistaken, they got beat bad. Worst day for the state of Florida. Everybody lost. Everybody lost. That's tough. UCF loses to Arizona State. UCF got 2 more games if they want to be bowl eligible. Right now they're 4-6 with 2 games left. So in order to be bowl eligible, they have to win both of those games and go into the postseason. Terrible, man. Terrible. That's tough. Terrible. Obviously, you guys know that former Miami Hurricane quarterback is over there, Brown. Not starting, not doing too well. It is what it is. Arizona State is now 7-2. They're bowl eligible. Pretty much that's all they're playing for with their 2 losses. TCU, they got the job done. They're now bowl eligible. 38-13 against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State started this season off ranked as the number 16 team in the country, and they are now 3-7 after 10 games. They are 0-7 in Big 12 conference play. That's tough. Horrible. Man, that's tough. What a downfall. Similar to the Florida State story. Started out as a top 10 team. Then you had Paul Feinbaum tell you guys that you didn't deserve to be in the top 10. You won't even finish the season as a top 10 team. And you're 1-9 now. Man, I think all the Florida State fans that blasted Paul Feinbaum in the beginning of the season should go over and apologize to him right now. Y'all should go apologize to Paul Feinbaum. And me, of course, because I told you guys y'all was trash from the beginning of the season and that your mercenaries weren't going to get it done for you this year. The team that you played against, Georgia, was the team that you're going to play this year. So y'all should come apologize to me too. Feel free, Florida State fans, to apologize to me in the chat for telling you guys that your team was going to be absolutely trash this year, that the team that you played against, Georgia, was going to be your team this year. Feel free to take this time out of your day to apologize to me in the chat. I'm accepting all y'all apologies today. You're welcome. All right, so let's go into next week in the Big 12. See who all played this week. We got to talk about their scenarios also for, the Big 12 championship game. So this week in the Big 12, starting on Friday night, you got Arizona versus Houston. That's a 10-15 game. So that you'll kick your weekend off if you want to stay up that late, if you're over here on the East Coast like we are. 10-15 Arizona versus Houston. Both teams are gutted. Arizona's 3-6. Houston is 4-5. I don't think I'm going to stay up that late watching this game. Neither will be bowl eligible after this game. But if Houston win, they'll be one game closer. They'll have a fighting chance. Arizona's already lost 6 games, so they would have to win their next 3 to be bowl eligible. So Houston has a better chance, not staying up 10-15 and beyond to watch that game. That's tough. Cincinnati also looks to be bowl eligible. They'll go to Iowa to take on Iowa State. Iowa State already bowl eligible. They're 7-2. Lost their last 2 games. Cincinnati now looks to be bowl eligible. They got 3 more games to get it done. So we'll see how that goes. Utah versus Colorado. Utah versus Colorado. That'll be on at 12 p.m. on Fox. This right here, I think, is a sure win for Colorado, to be honest with you. I don't think Utah's going to put up much of a fight against Colorado. I think Colorado will improve to 8-2. I think they'll improve to 8-2. Improve their chances to go to the Big 12 championship game. I think they'll be 8-2. I don't know if Sarge is watching, but if you want to bet against Dion this week again, I'll be more than happy to bet again. I'll be more than happy to bet with you. So, yeah. Baylor versus West Virginia. Baylor versus West Virginia, 4 p.m., ESPN2. This game right here is a battle for bowl eligibility. Both teams come into this game at 5-4. 5-4. Baylor versus West Virginia. This is playing in West Virginia in Morgantown. Both teams looks to be bowl eligible. Both are 5-4. That should be an interesting matchup. This game they might play with a lot of heart. Might come down to it. That's definitely one of those games I'm gonna pay attention to. See if West Virginia can get it done. Arizona State 7-2, Kansas State 7-2. Both are 4-2 in conference. Should be a good game. Right now, this game is played in Kansas, so not quite sure where to go with this one. This is one of those games that if I'm a betting man, I'll probably stay away from because I believe it could probably go either way. So, yeah. 10:15 p.m. on ESPN, you'll have BYU versus Kansas. BYU, at home, looks to basically stay unbeaten against a 3-6 Kansas team. So I'll probably take BYU. But at this point, BYU is 9-0 and undefeated. Every team that plays against them is going to try their best to basically give them that first L. So I don't think nobody's going to take them lightly. I don't think nobody's going to play down to them. So, keep an eye out on that. All right. Let's head on over to the Big Ten to wrap up this, wrap up these conferences, man. Over to the Big Ten. Let's talk about the games that got played yesterday. So throughout the week, on Friday, they had a game on Friday night. UCLA basically upsetted Iowa. Iowa's already bowl eligible. UCLA just made themselves one more game closer. They're 4-5 right now. So they just made themselves, one game closer. They beat them 20-17. Both teams has not been much to talk about, to be honest with you. So Maryland, 4-5. Oregon improved to 10-0. Oregon came into the Big Ten. They're the number one team in the country right now. They're 10-0 and they're 7-0 in Big Ten. They've beaten both Ohio State and Michigan. So obviously they're solidified. They're making that long trip across the country, and they're still winning games. They're still on top. They're the number one team in the country, number one in the Big Ten. So that kind of give you an idea where Oregon's at right now. Dan Lennon is 10-0 at Oregon. Dylan Gabriel, one of those quarterbacks that's being mentioned in the Heisman race, everything like that. So, not saying he's the odd-on favorite or anything like that, because the quarterback favorite is still down in Miami, regardless of the loss to Georgia Tech, because he still put up great numbers. But Oregon knocked off Maryland. Maryland, obviously, offense is struggling. Who would have thought with Josh Gaddis as your offensive coordinator that your offense would be struggling? Who would have thought? Is there any Miami fan out there that thought that Josh Gaddis at Maryland will be putting up, dramatic numbers on offense. Does anybody believe that? I don't think so. Ohio State 8-1 beats the brakes off Purdue. Purdue is 1-8. Purdue is the Florida State of the Big Ten. They're 1-8. They got beat yesterday 45-0 by Ohio State. They're the Florida State of the Big Ten, basically. So nothing to see there. Penn State, phenomenal win for them. 35-6. Beat Washington. I think Penn State could probably beat almost any team in the country that's not named Ohio State, Oregon, or anybody else that's basically ranked in the top 10. I think that's the problem with Franklin now, with James Franklin. That's why he's always being mentioned of being fired, even when they're having winning seasons. He just can't beat the top teams. He just can't beat, top ranked opponents. They'll beat everybody else, like Washington, who's 5-5 and looking for one more win in the next 2 games to be bowl eligible. One of those Big Ten teams now that was in the Pac-12 last season. That's tough. Michigan loses to Indiana. Indiana, first 10-win season ever. They're number 8 in the country, will improve from there. Miami and Georgia will drop. So Michigan now is looking for a bowl-eligible win in the next 2 games. That's where Michigan is right now. Last year's national champions, this year's looking to be bowl-eligible team. That's tough. Quarterback dilemma at, Michigan. Rutgers and the business made themselves one more game closer to being bowl eligible. They're 5-4. Michigan, Rutgers are on the same page in 2024. Man, that's tough. But they beat Minnesota yesterday, 26-19. All right, let's go into this week. Let's see what games are being played this week in the Big Ten. Like I said, guys, the Big Ten and the SEC, the playoffs are coming around the corner. A lot of them are going to make cases for, this team and that team should be in the playoffs. Obviously, the main suspects for, the Big Ten would definitely be Oregon and Ohio State. They're both ranked right now at 1-2 in the country. They both won their games yesterday, will more than likely remain 1-2 in the country. So, you know how that goes. So here we go. Oregon versus Wisconsin this week. Oregon versus Wisconsin. This game is played in Wisconsin. I think Oregon will win. I think they'll be 11-1. 11-0 after this one. Another winning conference. Right now, Wisconsin is 5-4. They're looking for their next win to be bowl eligible. A lot of these teams so far in these conferences are basically middle of the pack teams, just looking for that one win to become bowl eligible. It's a common trend right now as we're going through them, as you guys can see. Wisconsin is one of those teams. They're 5-4, looking for that next win to be bowl eligible. Now, they do have 3 more games to do so. So I don't think this will be one of them. I don't think they'll beat Oregon or anything like that. So I think after this game, they'll be 5-5. And then the next 2, they could battle it out with whoever they play. I don't think Oregon is going to be that victim. But it's college football. Anything could happen any week. So, we'll see. Ohio State, I think just the same way they beat Purdue yesterday, I think they'll beat Northwestern. Northwestern might be able to put up maybe 3 to 10 points. But I think Ohio State's going to beat them, and I think they're going to blow them out. It's not even going to be close. Penn State will do the same this week also. They take on Purdue. I think they'll beat Purdue, and they'll beat them, very convincingly. Blowout style. Improve to 9-1. And, on right off into the sunset into the next week. So, yeah, Purdue, I think, will drop down to 1-9. Like I said, guys, the Florida State of the Big Ten, Purdue. Cincinnati versus Iowa State. Time for these games has yet to be determined. So, you'll see how that go. They'll figure it out. But Cincinnati's looking for that one win, basically 5-4. Like the theme of this, it's like the theme of this whole show has been 5-4, looking to be bowl eligible. That's what Cincinnati is. They're going up against Iowa State, who's lost the last two games, the last 2 weeks. They're looking to be bowl eligible. They're 5-4, going up against a 7-2 Iowa State. So we'll see if Cincinnati could get the job done. This game is being played in Iowa, so good luck going on the road. Don't know why they put Washington State under the Big Ten, because they're not a Big Ten team. I'm in the top 25. I thought I switched to the Big Ten. Nonetheless, there's a lot of Big Ten teams in the top 25, so you wouldn't notice for a while anyway. Friday night, you got UCLA versus Washington. Washington's trying to be bowl eligible. Mediocre. 5-5 right now. They play UCLA, their best chance. So this is a Friday night game at 9 o'clock. Washington, I think, will get the job done. They're at home. They're playing UCLA. They get this win, they're bowl eligible. This is probably going to be their best chance to be bowl eligible against a UCLA team. So I think they'll get the job done. We talked about those. Okay, so Michigan State versus Illinois. Illinois is 6-3. They're already bowl eligible. 3 games left. Michigan's only won 4 games. They're 4-5. So obviously the next 2 out of 3 games they need to be bowl eligible. This game is played in Illinois. Have no faith in Michigan State. The few games that I did watch them play, their offense is non-existent. So I would definitely take Iowa State for the win, and that would probably be 6 losses for Michigan State, and then they would have to literally go above and beyond the next 2 games to be bowl eligible. I don't think Michigan State will end up bowl eligible at the end of the season. Rutgers versus Maryland. This game is played in Maryland. I think Rutgers win this game, and I think Rutgers become bowl eligible. They're 5-4 at the moment. Maryland is 4-5. Rutgers win this game. They're bowl eligible. They'll be playing in the postseason. Another game, another middle of the pack, below average game. You got Nebraska, who is 5-4, looking for a bowl eligible win, and then you got USC, who is 4-5. Absolutely terrible. One of those teams that came to the Big Ten and absolutely being demolished. USC 4-5 versus Nebraska 5-4. Nebraska will travel to California. I think this game could probably go either way, but nonetheless, I'll take Nebraska for the win and bowl eligible, or you'll take, USC to become 1 game closer to bowl eligible. But that's been the whole theme of the show. That's where we at. All right, so I see we got some Gator fans in the house. That's tough. Like I said, man, yesterday was a tough day for the Big 3. Tough day. Florida got blown out. Florida State got blown out. And Miami got flown out. That's tough. We all lost. UCF lost. USF lost. All of them. Tough day for the state of Florida. Tough day for the Big 3. So, obviously, Miami still got a chance to play for the ACC championship. With that loss against Georgia Tech. Miami now can't afford to lose no more games this season if they want to play for the ACC championship or even play in the postseason against, playoff. In the playoff. We're already bowl eligible, so we'll definitely play in any bowl or whatever. But as far as, winning anything significant. We definitely can't drop another game. Terrence in the building. What's good, my guy? All right, so let's look at the ACC now. So obviously, with Miami losing and Clemson lost last week, we're back to a dilemma. Now, SMU is sitting at 5-0 in conference. They're just chilling. Miami's next two opponent to finish, ACC play is Wake Forest and Syracuse. Wake Forest and Syracuse. Syracuse is 3-3 in conference, and Wake Forest is 2-3 in conference. Wake Forest right now has a team record of 4-5. Syracuse has a record of 6-3. Clemson has one game left. That's against Pitt. Pitt is 3-2 in conference, dropped their last two games. They're 7-2 overall. Clemson is 7-2 overall. They'll take on each other next week. Obviously, Pitt's already got two losses. If you're a Miami fan, you're rooting for Pitt. Plain and simple. Now, SMU, they do have 3 more games in conference. 3 more games in conference. So let's take a look at SMU. We do know that they play Boston College this week. We do know that Miami will be rooting for Boston College. And then so, we'd have SMU with a loss, Miami with a loss, and then it would basically propel Miami back to being number one in the ACC with SMU and Clemson still hanging. But let's look at the rest of the games. So SMU, in my opinion, they'll be favored in all 3 of these games. More than likely, they'll win all 3 of these games. But this is college football. Anything happens in a week. When you look at Miami's last 3 games in the ACC, we would have said we would have won all 3 of them also. Based on, talent and everything, we should have won that game yesterday. But we lost. So, as you can see, SMU's next game is Boston College. Miami's on a bye week, so we'll sit back and relax and watch it plays. If Pitt can pull the upset against Clemson, which I doubt that they beat Clemson, but if Pitt can beat Clemson, then we're having a different discussion. As long as Miami win their next 2 and Pitt beats Clemson, we're having a whole different discussion. But right now, SMU takes on Boston College. They have Virginia. And then they'll have Cal at the end of the year. Cal is terrible. I don't think SMU will drop that game. At Virginia might be tricky. Might be a trap game, but I still think they'll be favored, and I still think they'll probably come out there with a win. So it's a possible chance that SMU will be undefeated, if not with 1 loss. So that's where we're at right now. We're back to the scenario based in the ACC. Now, we are still projected to be ACC champions. So, we'll see how this thing play out. So keep in mind, if Miami wins the next 2 games, they'll be 7-1 in ACC. If Clemson beats Pitt this week coming, they'll be 7-1 in ACC play. So then it'll come down to between Miami and Clemson. Let's just say SMU wins their next 3 games. They'll be 8-0. It'll come down to SMU versus Miami or SMU versus Clemson. Now, in any given scenario, let's just say Miami comes out and they're ranked in the top 12. ESPN is already projecting us from earlier on in the show to be the 11th team in the country. So if that's being said and we goes out, we beat the next 2 teams, we'll still be considered for the playoffs. We'll still be in the top teams for the playoffs. We just won't have a bye. The bye would go to either Clemson or SMU. Miami would still make the playoff, and that's probably the only scenario where you would have two ACC teams in the playoffs. So if Miami finishes at 7-1, Clemson finishes at 7-1, and they give the nod to Clemson, then obviously Miami would possibly still make the playoff as an 11-1 team, but don't play for the ACC championship game. With a lot of the losses that's already happened, with the SEC and other teams, there's a chance that an 11-1 Miami team with no ACC championship would still make the playoffs. Obviously, we want to play for the ACC championship. We want that automatic bid. We want that bye week. Mr. Overdose. He said, "It's my belief that Pitt will get up for Clemson just to play spoiler." Yeah, hopefully so. Rightfully so. I'm gonna watch that game. I think it's gonna be a good game. Not quite sure what Clemson you're gonna get in that game though. Clemson is up and down. One week they're dominant, the next week you're like, why did I think so highly of them? Everything else, throw it out the window. Like I said, guys, if Miami drops one out of the next two games, we're just playing bowl games. That's it. We're just gonna play a bowl game. If Miami drop any of the next two games, we're just playing for bowl games. So that's it for the ACC. So now, when you look at the Big 12, Colorado is back in play. Colorado is back in play. Colorado right now, they're 7-2. They got 3 more games to play. BYU, they're sitting at 6-0. They don't play each other. So all Colorado would have to do is win out, and so does BYU, and you would have no problems picking who would play for the Big 12. It's clear. Colorado only 1 loss in conference, BYU none. Everybody else has 2 losses in conference already. So all Colorado would have to do right now is not lose a game in conference. And given the scenario, some of these teams in the conference play each other with 2 losses already, so they would end up with a 3rd loss here and there. So all Colorado have to do is win. Don't drop another game in conference to put yourself in any kind of tie scenario. You control your own destiny at this point. Colorado control their own destiny. Now, games that they do have left, they do have Utah, winnable game. I think they win that game. They have Kansas, winnable game. I also think they win that one. And Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's been terrible. Winnable game. I think they win that. I think Colorado could finish the next 3 games with a win. Obviously, 3 games, 3 conference games, you could end up dropping one. And that would be the worst case scenario for Colorado. But if they were to win these next 3 games, Colorado would finish this season at 10-2. Deion Sanders in year 2 would have gone from a 4-win season last year to a 10-win season this year. Man, with his transfers, he's on a faster pace than Mike Norvell. He's on a faster pace than Mike Norvell right now with the transfer portal. That's tough. But that's all Colorado has to do. Win the next 3 games, and they'll secure their spot in the Big 12 championship. BYU also just win. And it'll be BYU versus Colorado. Now imagine Colorado to beat BYU and go into college football playoffs with a first round bid. First round bye week. Big 12 champs, first round bye week. Can you guys imagine the headlines? The Deion Sanders, oh my God, ESPN everybody and their mom would be tuned into that. The narratives, oh my God, the Florida State guys would be going nuts. They would be talking about, oh, we got Mike Norvell when we should have hired Dion. Dion would have been able to recruit, would have got top talent in the state of Florida, would have did this, would have been able to compete. We'll be on man, Florida State fans will be crashing out. BYU versus Colorado. Colorado wins and go into the playoffs for the first round bye. Florida State fans will crash out on this app. Not just on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and every other platform that you know that Florida State's on. They would crash out. Do it for us, Dion. Do it for us. All right. So Indiana, they're 7-0. Oregon, they're 7-0. Penn State and Ohio State, they both have a loss. Now, Indiana, let's look at the rest of Indiana's schedule and the rest of Oregon. Because obviously they're both undefeated. They're leading right now. And if they were to win out, they would be in the championship game. So, Indiana at Ohio State. Tough matchup. This is going to be a huge test for Indiana. Indiana is undefeated right now. Their first 10-0 season. Their next matchup is going to be their hardest matchup, in my opinion. This probably will be game of the week this week, guys. This might be game of the week. Indiana versus Ohio State. If Indiana can get past Ohio State, they'll definitely be Purdue. No doubt in my head, they'll be Purdue. If they could get past Ohio State, Indiana will have their first 12-0 season. Indiana, if they can get past Ohio State, they will be able to do what Florida has never done before. Go undefeated. Damn, Gators. It's funny that I bring up Indiana and they're possibly going 12-0, and the first picture that ESPN put on the side is a picture of a Gator. Ain't that tough? Not only the Gators, but them getting blown out yesterday, too. That's tough. What a correlation. Anyway, let's go back. Indiana could possibly Sarge MIA. I ain't see Sarge all morning. You know, gotta lick the moons, man. You gotta lick the moons. Dog down. Dog down. Dog down, baby. All right, so obviously Ohio State and Penn State, you know, they're hanging around still. Penn State, the next couple of games that Penn State plays, let's see what that is. So Penn State played Purdue, they play Minnesota, and they play Maryland. They should win all those games. So they'll finish with one loss, in my opinion, unless they mess around and drop one of these games. So they should finish with one loss in conference, and that's to Ohio State. Now, obviously, we know Ohio State next game is against Indiana. And then at the end of the season, they'll play Michigan. But they do have a game in between. We know every rival. So in between, they have Northwestern. So I do believe they'll beat Northwestern, and I do believe they'll beat Michigan. So Indiana, obviously, that'll be a challenge for them. That'll be a deciding factor of who plays in the Big Ten championship. In my opinion, Indiana versus Ohio State will determine who plays in that championship game. Now, obviously, let's take a look at Oregon. We got to take a look at Oregon because we already know Penn State has a clear path to just having that one loss against Ohio State. So let's take a look at Oregon. See how they factor into this. The next, 2 games or so. So obviously for Washington, obviously they got Wisconsin next, and they got Washington next, which I think they'll win both of those games. I think Washington is going to play them hard, but Washington is gutted right now. Wisconsin, uncertainties and everything like that. I think Oregon finishes undefeated. So they'll be waiting on their opponent in you know, the Big Ten championship, which I think it'll be either Indiana or Ohio State. I think those two games determine who plays for the Big Ten championship. Ohio State versus Indiana. Ohio State win, they'll play. It'll be a rematch with them and Oregon, which, in my opinion, that is what it's going to be. I think Ohio State is going to beat Indiana, ruin their perfect season. With that one loss in conference, Ohio State will now be playing Oregon again for basically the Big Ten championship. Penn State will finish with, that one loss against Ohio State, so that'll keep them out of it. And I think Indiana will, basically fall short. 11-1. Great season. Couldn't quite make it undefeated, but nonetheless, made history, program history. And I think the Big Ten championship game will be Oregon versus Ohio State. That's where I think it's going to end up. Now, obviously, the biggest mystery and the biggest headache for any of the conferences is the SEC. Now, as of right now, if they were to play the championship game, it'll be Texas A&M versus Tennessee. This is where we're at right now in the SEC. There's only 3 teams in the SEC right now with one loss. There's no undefeated SEC team. Tennessee is at 5-1. Texas A&M 5-1. Texas 4-1. So those are the teams that we're going to focus on. Now we all know Texas plays Texas A&M the last game of the season. We also know that Tennessee has to play Georgia. So let's look at Texas A&M, and Tennessee, because those are the ones with one losses right now. Those are the ones that's in play for the SEC championship. Let's look at the rest of their schedules. So the next game for Tennessee will basically tell you all you need to know. Tennessee will take on Georgia. If Tennessee gets the job done, more than likely they will play for the SEC championship. If they lose this game to Georgia, they will now have 2 losses, and Georgia will be back in play. And obviously, at the end of the season, they play Vanderbilt. I think it's safe to say in 2024 that Vanderbilt is not a pushover and is not a guaranteed win for anybody. I do believe Tennessee would beat Vanderbilt, but I wouldn't give them a sure win. Not in 2024. Not the way Vanderbilt has been playing. Vanderbilt, they're not a world beater or anything, but they're not laying down for anybody. They're playing with some kind of pride, unlike Florida State. Unlike the Florida Gators. They're playing with pride. So I do believe that the Georgia versus Tennessee game could go either way. I would take Tennessee at this moment. Watching Stetson Bennett play, Stetson Bennett is absolutely awful in my book. Stetson Bennett. Why do I keep calling this man Stetson Bennett? Carson Beck is pretty awful. I could see Tennessee going into Athens and getting that win. I can also see them losing that game. So obviously, let's just say for this scenario, Tennessee goes in there and beat Georgia and then beats Vanderbilt. They will be playing for the SEC championship, with one loss. Like I said, the next two teams with one loss, they have to play each other. One of them will eliminate the other. Texas versus Texas A&M is the last game of the season. One of those teams will eliminate each other. Now, obviously, leading up to that game, both teams have other games to play. So let's see Texas A&M's next opponents. With the one loss, let's see their next opponents. So in conference, Texas A&M next game is at Auburn. Texas A&M's next game is at Auburn. So if they were to beat Auburn, which I do believe they will, then it's going to come down to Texas versus Texas A&M. Okay, let's go into Texas now. Which, by the way, ESPN matchup predictor has Texas winning that game at a 77.2%. So they are predicting that Texas will beat Texas A&M that last game of the season. So now you have Texas's last three games. They have Arkansas. They'll go to Arkansas. I think they'll beat Arkansas. They'll play at home against Kentucky. I think they'll beat them. And I think they'll beat Texas A&M too at Texas A&M. I think they'll finish this season, the next three games. I think they'll be 3-0 in the next three games. They'll finish with one loss in conference. And that's where we're going to have a dilemma. That's where the dilemma is going to come in. So this is where the dilemma is going to come in the SEC, guys. So based on predictions, based on where we think the ACC will play out, obviously, if Tennessee takes care of Georgia, Tennessee will finish with one loss in our books. If Texas beats Texas A&M, which they play each other, Texas A&M will have two losses. So that'll bring Texas A&M down. But if Georgia were to beat Tennessee, then Georgia's back in the mix. Georgia's back in the mix. This thing, that's what I'm saying. In the SEC, it could get chaotic. Not only is Georgia back in the mix, but if Ole Miss were to win out, they'll be back in the mix too because they just beat Georgia. Man, Alabama's with two losses. Their losses to Georgia. No, I'm sorry. Their losses to Vanderbilt. And who was there? Tennessee. So even more chaos. Missouri with two losses, they could come back in the mix. Then you got LSU with two losses. This thing could really get ugly. The SEC could really get ugly. But I think this week will make it a lot more clear once Tennessee and Georgia plays each other. If Tennessee knocks off Georgia, it'll make this thing a lot clearer. But if Georgia at home beats, and I mean beat Tennessee, then this thing is going to get tricky. This thing is going to get tricky. Ole Miss, the remaining schedule for Ole Miss is easy. It's easy. Ole Miss's next two games is easy. They literally have nothing to worry about. Their next two games is the Florida Gators and Mississippi State, the rivalry game. So they could end up 10-2, 6-2 in conference. Obviously, Georgia got what? Tennessee, and that's it. Who this thing's gonna get tricky? Ooh, ACC, SEC. Those are two conferences right now with chaos just brewing. Chaos just brewing. But man, the next all I can say is just watch the games. It'll all play itself out. We'll talk about this again next week. Obviously, some of the games will get played. Some teams probably will get upset. Some teams, probably get signature wins and stuff like that to solidify their chances. Miami Hurricanes not playing this week. They don't have an opponent. So that goes to show you. So, like I said, Miami don't have an opponent this week. We're on a bye week, so we're gonna watch some of these stuff play out. In SEC play, if Georgia overlooks Georgia Tech, it doesn't matter. They just got to win in conference. Conference championship games are just based on the conference play. So if Georgia were to lose to Georgia Tech, which I doubt that, it wouldn't affect the SEC championship game. You said, did anyone in the state of Florida win yesterday? Absolutely not. Nobody. Nobody won. Down bad state. Down bad state. So this week, this upcoming week, obviously, like I said, guys, the top 25 is going to change. The top 25 is going to change. Miami don't play this upcoming week. I think Florida State is also on a bye week. So I think Miami and Florida State are both on bye weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check the ACC. Island boy, what's going on with you? Okay, so Miami and Florida State does not play this upcoming week. So the Gators will take on LSU. That'll be on at 3:30. So for the big three, that's the only game that'll be on. Florida will get gutted out by LSU. Now, obviously, game of the week, in my opinion, this week, game of the week will be Georgia versus Tennessee. That'll be the game to watch this week, Georgia versus Tennessee. The SEC championship game could be determined by this game right here. If Tennessee could go to Georgia and get the win, they'll only have one loss in conference, and the only opponent after that would be Vanderbilt. So, game of the week. More than likely, that's where game day is going to be. Georgia versus Tennessee. So, more than likely, game day will be in Athens. More than likely. I wouldn't see anywhere else they would rather be than this game. I don't think any other game would have a bigger implication than this game next week. Obviously, Georgia's no longer going to be the number 3 team in the country. They're going to drop. They're projected to drop to number 10. Miami's projected to drop to number 11. Tennessee is projected to move up to number 5. So it'll be number 5 versus number 10 if the projections are correct. Tennessee versus Georgia in Athens. I don't see where else game day would rather be. Looking at these top matchups for this week, I don't think game day would rather go to Utah for a 3-6 Kansas team. They're definitely not going to go to a cupcake game at Texas A&M. Kansas versus Arizona don't sound too appealing. South Carolina, Missouri, still not appealing. I don't think they would want to go to South Carolina a second time this season to watch them, squander away another game. LSU, Florida, neither team are really playing for much at this point other than, bowl eligibility. And LSU's already bowl eligible. SMU, Boston College, not worth it. Notre Dame, Virginia, not worth it. Alabama, Mercer, Clemson, Pitt, not worth it. Colorado, Utah, definitely not worth it. Texas versus Arkansas, definitely not worth it. So, more than likely, in my opinion, game day will be at Athens. Well, anyways, guys, appreciate you guys for tuning in, hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, all that good stuff. One more thing, let's check the rankings. Obviously, the college football rankings will come out sometime this week. I think Tuesday night they'll talk about it. The AP has not, updated. Miami's still on here at 9-0, so they haven't updated yet. Obviously, sometime today they'll update the AP poll, which, don't really go after the AP poll anymore, but it's good to see where they are compared to the college football playoffs rankings. So, obviously, Miami picked up their first loss. Georgia picked up their second loss. We'll see where they rank, or they'll put both teams. It would be nice for them to put Miami ahead of Georgia, though. Would be nice, in my opinion. Georgia with 2 losses and Miami with 1. It would be nice for us to be placed ahead of Georgia. Put us at number 10 and put Georgia at 11. How about that? But we all know the narratives, man. Georgia versus Tennessee. We need to make it as exciting as possible. We need to make people tune into it. So having Georgia at number 10 instead of having them at number 11 would be a lot better. So there you have it, guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. No sighting of Sarge this morning. He'll pop up sometime. He'll probably be in the comment section. Look out for Sarge in the comment section. He definitely won't be saying the champ is here. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff.